Well, it was back in the 30s when David Ogilvy tasted his first blood, as he put it, in the advertising industry. He began Ogilvy and Mather in 1948, and the rest was history. Well, here to share their story, I have Sharleen James, Account Management Director, and Neo Makhele, Strategic Planning Director from Ogilvy, Johannesburg. Neo, Sharleen, welcome to Media and Money. So we mentioned very briefly David Ogilvy, and back in the 30s, his first taste of the industry, started Ogilvy and Mather in the late 40s, and then we ended up in Africa all of a sudden. So in a nutshell, Neo, how did it all happen?
Well, there was an association with an agency in Johannesburg called VZ. And that had been an association that was confirmed 1952, and later on, Ogilvy was then called VZ, Ogilvy and Mather. But there was another agency down in Cape Town by some of the amazing brains in South Africa, Bob Brightford, Brian Seltrip, Roger Macon, and they were the yellow agency, full of passion, believe in brands, and these two associations of VZ, Ogilvy and Mather, as well as RSTM, came together in 1984, if I'm not lying, 1984, and became Ogilvy and Mather Worldwide.
Right.
The combination of red, of Ogilvy, and yellow. And for a long time, when I started Ogilvy, I went to the red and yellow building. It was garish yellow.
And today it's just red.
It's just red. So that was Ogilvy and Mather Worldwide in South Africa.
It was Ogilvy and Mather, Brightford, Seltrip and Macon.
Yeah.
Remember,
Okay, so at what point were you only Ogilvy? You got rid of the Mather and the...
in 2004.
Okay, right.
2004.
So Sharleen, what do you think, what makes David Ogilvy this icon? I mean, till today, he's called the Wizard of Advertising, the father of advertising. Why do you think he's such an icon? What was it?
You know, David Ogilvy really is the modern advertising man, or the man that kind of, for me, revolutionized advertising. He was, you know, advertising people, there's a perception that they're quite arrogant and they know everything. David Ogilvy built an agency on ethics and integrity, you know. His thing was we sell or else. It was all about the people within the organization. And he created a very different agency, you know, an agency where people enjoyed going to work, an atmosphere where people loved. And I think the other thing that was so special about the David Ogilvy agency was the partnership that he developed with his clients. You know, it was always about Ogilvy being an extension of the clients.
Right.
And not just an agency or just a supplier. We became part of the client's organization, and that was David's kind of instilling in an organization.
But do you think those principles are still true today? Are you still living by those same principles, Neo?
We have one value currently, and so speaks someone who started in advertising way after David set up the playing, you know, the playing field. What our value is, do the right thing. Do the right thing for the brand. Do the right thing for the people. Do the right thing for the work. Do the right thing for the business. And he said, we sell or else. Currently, when we say what Ogilvy stands for, we deliver advertising that delivers creative excellence and results. That's how we measure ourselves. So back to our founding years, we actually are living to those principles. And after a few years of seeing, you know, success from those principles, we are always reminded that we must never believe too much in ourselves. We have a ethic of divine discontent.
Yeah.
You know, be happy with what you did last year, celebrate it, but know that you need to do better. And you know, you need to compete with yourselves, but we believe in the work and we believe in our people. We do not believe or glory in, listen, we are so great. You know, that is that humility that David instilled in the agency, and that's the culture. You know, there is a very welcoming culture of together we can, passion for ideas, but it is that culture that still permeates the work.
I also think in terms of the clients, you know, David set very high standards for Ogilvy, and the clients that he went after were clients that set very high standards for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we have to walk away from business that we feel are not quite right, and we miss out on billing. You know, but I think in the end, we develop real partnerships, and that's how we got the blue chip clients that we have today.
And talking about those
Especially-
clients, who's
yes.
the longest standing client with Ogilvy?
SAB, Castle.
Why?
You know, again, I think it's partnership. I think that they've allowed us into their organization. They've allowed us to build this phenomenal brand that Castle is today. And yeah, I think it's all about partnership and doing great work.
But would you agree with that, Neo? What would you say are the fundamentals that client looks for in an agency?
I mean, going back to the history and looking at the work, if you look at VW, if you look at SAB work, I mean, you talk about Castle, you talk about cutting Black Label, and you see exactly how Ogilvy, we currently say brand liberation. In the past, it was called brand stewardship. The principles there were we want to be valued by clients that most value brands. So we want to deliver value back to brands. We articulate it differently during brand stewardship times, the Robin Part articulation, but currently we say this is how we liberate brands, make it relevant to consumers, make it profitable to our shareholders, and make it an opportunity for creatives and people who are working on the brand to see the potential of the brand.
Right.
So I think that is exactly what it is we don't work as client services. Sharleen will kill me for saying that. We actually are account management because we talk about partnership. When we believe firmly in the brand, we believe that the success of that brand and that business is equivalent to our personal career success. It delivers results. So the articulation is different, but the value and the promise still stays the same.
Yeah.
What's the most important, creativity or measurability?
Both.
Okay.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
We call it Twin Peaks right now. Excellence for Ogilvy in the past 3 years, 2008, 2009, and 2010, has been measured on leading creative excellence. So we've enjoyed amazing results with our creative leadership, both with Jerry Human and Fred Larkin right now, from 2008 and 2010. Advertising effectiveness, Apex. For the past 3 years, we've been the leading agency and the leading group. It is a lot of pressure for us because consistently we need to make sure that those campaigns deliver in excellence creatively as well as effectiveness.
Yeah, it's only creative if it sells.
True.
We sell what else?
True. But for the client, what do you think is most important? Obviously, effectiveness. Because to me, I want to sell my product at the end of the day.
But I think it's them understanding that creativity is what sells. It's what I said earlier, you know. And it's
So it's both. It goes hand in hand. So take us through some highlights of the last 28 years of Ogilvy's existence in South Africa. Some campaigns that come to mind, anything that you'd like to share with us?
Ooh, there's a lot.
Can I go with one?
Yeah,
Two?
go for it.
Okay. I'll just pick up two of my favorites, just from the past and probably in the future. Nedbank, you know? Nedbank was seen as aloof, boring, small, distant, client-focused. And then there were leading banks that were just quite available, accessible to the South African community. And Nedbank had a campaign that says serious about money, which made South Africans feel a little distant from the brand. And we, as Ogilvy, came up with that campaign, you know, that says, today I might be small, but I'm a giant. And it started to connect with the feelings, the hearts of South Africans. And I think that's a trace. It's a little bit of DNA, you know, when we connected.
There's a bit of history there that you're part of.
Yeah.
Right. And the ANC campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ogilvy played a big role in the transformation of this country, you know, and it goes back way back to 1987. I mean, in 1984, we were asked by the Business Election Fund to do a campaign to get South Africans to kind of vote in the new democratic elections, the first democratic elections. And that was the first big campaign that we did, you know, which was absolutely phenomenal.
Again, also a bit of history.
Also a bit of history. And then recently, we've done two campaigns for the ANC, the 2004 and 2009 elections. And both were different, but, you know, it was doing stuff for this country, which is great. You know.
In closing, because we have to, your thoughts on the future of advertising?
Change, transformation. Advertising is always rebirthing itself. I think with Ogilvy as a big agency, we have looked at the way we connect to the human truths the way we did Magic and connected to people, the way we did ANC and connected to South Africans, 702 and talked with South Africans. It's always about truly connecting with who our consumers are and what they stand for. Belief. After the recession, a lot of businesses have asked agencies and themselves to be accountable socially, morally, and also to the bottom line. So I think that you will see advertising being communications truly and accounting for itself, justifying the investment, both at a community level, socially, and to the bottom line.